Our guest today is Buitumelo Tumi Katisi. So Tumi is a South African lady born in Pimville, Soweto. She's a 28-year-old commercial pilot and studying towards an instructor's rating. And she's a 2018 award winner for Wonder of Aviation SA and recipient of the Schenck Family Award. She was chosen as a board member protege for the Commercial Aviation Association of Southern Africa for 2019-2020, just to mention a few of her awards, because she's got a whole list of that. She's a nominee for the education category of the Mail and Guardian 200 Young South Africans Awards in 2020. So as I said, I've only tried to pick only a few that I felt were like most of the points that can resonate with the girls, especially the girls coming from the industry of aviation, but her resume is phenomenal. So I'm just gonna give Tumi to take the stage. Ms. Tripas.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hey.
So yeah, my name is Tumi. Tumi from Soweto and Pimville, but right now I'm located in Pretoria, because that's where I'm actually doing my flying at the moment. Yeah, so I began my journey in grade 10, I could say. In grade 10, that's actually when I actually realized that I want to become a pilot. And I wasn't a born pilot, unfortunately. I was not one of those kids that knew from like a very young age that this is what I want to do. So it happened by chance. We had a life orientation task in grade 10, and you basically had to go visit a workplace that you see yourself in for a day. And I wanted to become an engineer at that time. So I actually wrote to a couple of engineering companies, like emailed them asking them if they can come shadow for the day. And none of them responded in time. So fortunately for me, my aunt works at SAA. She did admin there. And what happened is that my mom actually gave her a call and asked her if I could go with her to work just so I can experience SAA and what she does. And yeah, she took me to work, and I went to, when I was driving towards the airport, I'd see these big planes coming into land. So it's actually the first time I actually noticed a plane like so low and so big. And you know, it kind of caught my attention. And then yeah, we got to the offices, and yeah, she did like admin, so I was kind of bored watching her do her work. And what I actually did, she actually called a friend who works at the pilot side, the air side, where the pilots check in and check in for their flights and so forth. And yeah, she actually called a friend, and a friend came to pick me up and took me to the pilot side. And the first thing I saw when I walked in was like a row of actually the pilot hats lined up, and I saw the suits, the jackets with the stripes. And you know, I was very excited at that moment. So I went and met one of the guys that actually handles all the check-in and the pilot information to do with the flights. So I basically shadowed him for the day. And a number of pilots came in. I spoke to a couple of them. It was very interesting. And I think I was there the whole day, but I didn't even see one female pilot. I saw quite a bunch of the flight attendants, females, and I spoke to them. They were very friendly and nice. Spoke to the pilots also. And, you know, I was very intrigued about this career. And at the same time, I was also wondering, why are there no females here? Because all I see is male pilots. So why are all the females settling to be flight attendants? So that's kind of another thing that actually, you know, got me interested in aviation, because when I asked the guy who was handling all the pilot paperwork to why females were not settling to become pilots, he did say that a lot of females are like scared to go into the pilot career. They feel kind of intimidated in the way that the male pilots don't see themselves with females in the cockpit, and females in general don't see themselves working as pilots. And I think from there on, you know, I wanted to become one of the girls that changed that statistics, you know, change that mindset that a lot of males have around that females can't fly planes or they shouldn't be here. And yeah, from that moment on, when I left and went home, I actually went to my mom and I told her that I want to become a pilot. And yeah, at that moment she didn't believe me. It took a lot of convincing to actually get my mom to believe that I want to become a pilot. So I completed my matric. I actually went to Branchton High. I completed my matric, and the first year out of high school was a year of convincing my mom that I want to become a pilot. Because during my grade 11 year, she actually came home with a couple of application forms from universities, so Wits, University of Johannesburg, and colleges and stuff. And she kind of like wanted me to fill them in so that I could apply for bursaries to go study engineering and like anything else that I wanted to study, but it had to be in university. So I did tell her that, you know what, piloting you can only do at a flight school. You can't do piloting like in university. And she was just not hearing me. So what I did with those papers, I actually took them and put them under my bed during my grade 11 year. I put all those forms under my bed, and then she would ask me if I had sent them back, had posted them back. And I'll tell her that I did. I told her that I did, just so that she can ease off me regarding this applying for university thing. And I remember at the end of grade 11, she asked me if I had any response, and I told her no, I didn't get any response. Matric the whole year, did they respond? Did they respond? I'm like, no, they didn't respond. And deep down, I knew that I didn't apply. So when I did my matric the following year, so one of my aunts works with putting kids into colleges, right? And basically, it's kids basically from townships and rural areas. And these kids are kids that can't afford, to pay for university and so forth. So she actually came to pick me up. She spoke to my mom. I never knew about it. All I knew is that they picked me up on a Monday morning, and there was a whole bunch of kids in the shuttle. And then I was wondering, where are we going? And then they're like, no, we're going to a couple of colleges. We're going to apply for courses. So I remember driving to about three. I think there were three colleges we were going to that day. The first one I didn't apply. My aunt spoke to me the whole way to the second college to try to get me to apply for something. I still didn't. It even got to me crying. I actually had to cry and tell her, like, this is not what I want to do. I want to do piloting, and that's it. So I think my mom only kind of took me seriously after that day. And yeah, I remember I got back home. When I got back home, this is where the first negotiation took place. So my mom sat me down and asked me, okay, what do you want to do? And I told her that I really want to become a pilot, mom. And, she was kind of like trying to understand, because I changed career choices so much in high school, from being a medical doctor to an engineer to an architect. So I could pretty much feel why she was not, settled with me wanting to become a pilot. And yeah, I sat it down and I told her that, I want to become a pilot. I fell in love with this career, and this is what I see myself doing. And then she asked me what are the requirements to do piloting. So at that time, I'd done my research, but it wasn't enough. So what I actually did, I told her that there was an air show that was actually coming up. So I asked her if I could go to the air show. And yeah, she asked me if I wouldn't get lost. And I was like, no, I won't get lost. I know where Germanston is and where Rand Airport is. And she's like, okay, you can go to the air show. So yeah, I woke up on Saturday morning. I went to my first air show. And that's when I saw aviation for the first time, like, the real aviation, the air show, the pilots, everything was there. The aircrafts were there. We could touch them, we could feel them, And while I was walking at the air show, there was a company called Rasa. So they were actually running, I can't say it's a competition, but you could apply to take part in the internship. So the internship would run for like 6 months during that year. And what Rasa does, they actually focus on recreational aviation. So recreational aviation is like flying for fun. So people that fly your aerobatic planes, air balloons, hot air balloons. So it's not people that are flying in the airlines, but any kind of flying, but that doesn't have to do with the airlines and private jets and so forth. And I applied for it. And then I went home and I told my mom that I had applied for this internship. And I also went home with a lot of codes from flight schools. because I looked around for flight schools to try find out what's required to join a flight school. And I remember I showed her the codes. It was about, I think, 350,000 Rand to train towards a commercial pilot license. And that was too much. It was too much for her. She told me straight that, oh, this is a lot of money. I don't know if I'll be able to do this for my child, but yeah, it's a lot of money. And, it kind of got me down at that moment. But at the same time, I could understand because I had two other kids after me. So my little sister and my late uncle's son that my mom actually took care of and took to school. So I couldn't be selfish and be like, please take me to flight school. And then what about them and their education and everything, luckily, I think a week or 2 weeks after, I got a call from Rasa, and I had made the shortlist of the candidates that would actually take part in this internship. So yeah, I had to go for an interview. There was about, I think, 15 to 20 of us at the interview, and I made the cut for top 4 that they actually chose. And yeah, I was overwhelmed at that moment that, at least it's something I got my entry into aviation, even though it was not piloting, but it was something to do with aviation. So when I started there, we used to get a stipend. I remember it was a 6 months course, and you get to learn about recreational aviation, how to process a license, and so forth. And yeah, you used to get a stipend. I think it was about 3,000 Rand. And at that time, because I used to take a taxi all the way from Soweto to Rand Airport on a daily, so I'd spend like over 1,000 Rand like on transport. And whatever I could save up in that month, I actually gave to my mom to actually save for my flight training. I never gave up on that vision because I knew that I want to do piloting at the end of the day, as much as I'm doing this internship. And we had a career day one day at the internship, and you had to come dressed as what you want to be. So that's actually when I bought my pilot uniform. So I walked to the pilot shop after the internship one day. I got my first shirt. I got my one stripe epaulets, and yeah, I got a tie and I got pants. And I came to work for the internship dressed as a pilot. And I remember that morning when my mom saw me in that uniform. I think it kind of inspired her. Like, okay, I see my daughter doing this. I support this vision. So I think that was like a cement I needed, like, for her to believe in me and this dream I had. And from that day, because I saved up a little, I never knew that my mom was actually saving for my private pilot license. So she sat me down and we negotiated again. And, she told me that, this 350,000 Rand is a lot of money. So I told her that, if you manage to pay for my first license, which was the private pilot license, it was around 90,000 Rand at that moment. I told her, if you manage to pay for this license, I'll see myself forward from there on. I'll see myself that I get sponsors. I'll see myself that I get money to complete my training. I just want you to get me started, basically, give me that head start. And yeah, my mom was actually, because she's an entrepreneur, my mom. So she owns like a taxi business. So what she actually did to actually save up the money, she only told me this year. So this is after 5 years of flying, that she actually took her money in the end. There was actually doing some stopfill type of thing with the ladies at the taxi association. And that's how she actually managed to get the money for my flight training. But at that moment, because stopfill is a rotation, right? And it can rotate after 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, where she gets money to put into my flying account. So with flight school, I found a flight school I wanted to join. And, flight school is a pay-as-you-go person. So you put in how much money you can afford. And with that money, you can write your exams, you can start your flying or do whatever. But the minute your account runs low, you can't be productive at the flight school until you top up your account again. So my mom could manage about 20,000 Rand this month. Probably have to wait for 2 or 3 months, then she'll put in another 20,000 Rand because it rotates, right? And yeah, there were times where I had to sit at home for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because I didn't have money. I used that money to fly or write exams. And, you know, that whole 2 weeks, 3 weeks pause, it will affect my training at the end of the day because every time I go back, I have to recap on stuff I did before. And that's when I saw that this thing is going to take time. And at the same time, I can't tell my mom that I can't put pressure on her to be able to put in all the money because she doesn't have it. And I saw a post at the previous company I interned for. They needed a receptionist. So I applied for the post and I got the job. So with the job, so now I used to go to school probably for 2 hours. And for the rest of the day, I'm at work until 3. And I remember we used to get paid about 7,000 Rand. And transport, I had to count transport and other commitments, had to buy food for at home, you know, help my mom. And with the money that's left, it was always about 3,000, 4,000 Rand. And, you know, you've got your friends, they're buying cars, they're buying clothes, they're going out. But I had to make that sacrifice because I knew what I wanted. So with that money, I would put it into my flying school account. And that 3,000 Rand made a difference to me at the end of the day because I'd go to school and fly, even if it's twice, just to keep that balance, you know, with waiting within that 2 to 3 weeks. And one day I was sitting at work and I decided, I don't know what came to me, but I wrote a motivational letter. And this letter, I actually sent it out to every company you can think of. So your Colgate, your toilet paper, your Sasco bread, whoever, like, you know, I even took a newspaper, I took a magazine, aviation magazine, I looked at all the brands and I actually went on Google, found their email address and I emailed everyone. So I think it was over like 100 companies that I emailed and 98% of them, their response was negative. They couldn't help me with by sponsoring my flight training because aviation is a private sector, for one. And some of them just didn't read, like they had no interest. But I never gave up. I didn't give up until I got a call from Pick n Pay. So Pick n Pay has a private jet. They had a jet that used to fly in at Rand Airport. So the registration was like ZSPNP. So I just called it the Pick n Pay jet. So for me to even mention that aircraft in that letter, it was by chance because I never really knew if it was a Pick n Pay jet, you know? And yeah, they called me back and they actually wanted to help me and fund me. But the problem was the time they received my letter was the end of the financial year. So when I was speaking to this lady, I negotiated with her that, you know, it's fine. I can wait until next year. Yeah, it's fine. You guys can pay for my flying next year when your financial year opens. And that was a deal I actually stuck with Pick n Pay. They were more than happy to help me with my flight training. So while I was busy at flight school, I came across an organization that actually hosts aviation camps for girls on a yearly basis. So they used to get like grade 8 to 10 and some matric learners from across the country. And these learners, I think there was about 50 girls. You'd go to a campsite and then the whole week you only focus on aviation. So I applied to be one of the mentees because they needed mentees at that time. And they took me as one of the mentees. And I remember it was after I went solo. So I flew the aircraft for the very first time on my own. So I now owned and, you know, and earned that one bar that I was wearing across my shoulder. And yeah, at this camp, I met a friend. She flies for the airlines now. And she basically was interested in finding out like how far am I with my flying. So I did tell her what I was doing. And with that, she actually picked up that I needed funding, you know, and not knowing that she actually wrote to 94.7 Christmas Wish. She wrote to 94.7 Christmas Wish on my behalf to get funding towards my commercial pilot license. And yeah, I remember they surprised me at the airport, and that's when I got the sponsorship from Oppenheimer and Sons and Anglo American. So they actually sponsored me with 290,000 Rand towards my commercial pilot license. And as I said to my mom, I'll make a plan. And, you know, also with those motivational letters I was sending out before I got the 94.7 thing, I actually wrote to Breitling. So Breitling makes those famous pilot watches. So with Breitling, they actually contacted me and they were like, to me, we're going to give you a watch, and this watch is worth 80,000 rand. And with this watch, we want you to run a raffle. So we're going to give you 600 tickets, and each ticket you have to sell for 100 rand. Meaning that if I sell all those tickets, I would raise 60,000 rand towards my training. And yeah, I managed to sell just over 300 tickets. I contacted a couple of aviation magazines to issue an ad, and not knowing that there was somebody that actually contacted the National Lottery Board, and they actually reported my raffle to the lottery board and told, they basically, the lottery board sent me an email telling me that I need to stop my raffle and I need to give everybody their money back. Whoever bought the tickets, I must give them their money back. I need to apply through the National Lottery Board to have this raffle. And it can take anything from a month to 6 months to a year to 2 years for them to respond if I can have this raffle or not. The first email I got, so I ignored it. And then I got a second email, and then I wasn't too sure about it. So as I was about to ignore it, I got the call from the guy from the National Lottery Board. And he told me that someone had reported my raffle because I didn't have a lottery number. And I need to stop that raffle. And, I tried negotiating with the guy and telling him, the money is going towards my flight training. I'm not going to buy a car or anything fancy with that money. It's going towards my education. And it was a negotiation went wrong because he didn't want to hear me out. And he told me that I need to stop or they'll get me arrested because what I was doing is illegal. And he doesn't want to see me promoting my raffle anyway. I should tell all the magazines to cut it out and so forth. So at that moment, it was, a hard time for me. Like I didn't know what to do. I was young. So I spoke to a couple of my mentees on my mentors on how to go about handling the situation. So I had to stop. I contacted each and everyone that bought a ticket. I had a guy in Australia that bought about 10 tickets or 30 tickets. So I had to contact everyone and tell them that I have to stop the raffle because of the National Lottery Board. And almost everyone told me to keep the money. It's fine. They understand the situation, which is a blessing. And I had this watch that Brightling gave to me. So what can I do with this watch? We decided to have a launch, and like a small launch of the watch. And then at the end of the day, I would actually if I sell this watch to one lucky buyer. So now with that, I can only invite a certain amount of people that I trust. So I could only invite about five people that I knew wanted the watch and had the money to buy the watch. And I ended up selling the watch for half its worth, which is 40,000 rand, which I was still okay with because I had raised over 30,000 rand. So after that, that's the money that I used to actually go solo. And the money that I got from Anglo American and E-Oppenheimer & Sons, I used towards getting my commercial pilot license. So that was just a summary and highlights of everything I went through regarding my aviation journey and getting to where I am now. So with this, I actually noticed that, it's hard for a lot of kids out there, especially aspiring aviators that don't have the funding and also the lack of information, because that's another thing I struggled with, getting the right information to know where do I go from here, where do I apply for flight school, what's required and so forth. I had the lack of information. I didn't have mentors that I could ask on what, to ask the basics when I started my flying journey. So I took it upon myself to start an organization. And this organization focuses on aviation awareness. So we actually take aviation information to kids in the township and rural areas because I think that those kids deserve to know about aviation. And, some of them, we find that they do want to do something in aviation, but they just didn't know who to ask and how to ask. So, I think with that journey, like they said, every day in your life is a negotiation. You negotiate for everything in your life. So also with your parents, you are going to get parents that want to choose certain career fields for you to go into. And luckily for me, I could, I had to, as much as I had to prove to my mom, this is what I wanted to do. And, for her to understand that this is what I wanted to do, and for her trusting me enough to, to save up for my first license. I mean, after I sat down with her and I told her that, you know what, I just need you to pay for this license. For what happens from there on, I'll see myself. So for her to be able to sacrifice the money and save up in a stockpile to raise funds for me without even knowing was a blessing, I could say. So yeah, I think that negotiation factor is very important. I mean, some negotiations go wrong, like what I had with the National Lottery Board. It worked up to their favor because I had to stop the raffle. But at the same time, negotiating with my mom to start my training worked for me. It worked in my favor, and it also worked for her because at the end it paid out. It paid out. You're still gonna negotiate in flight school, so it's just not the daily basis. So in flight school, you negotiate on a daily basis with your flight instructor. I've had a negotiation with one of my instructors. I had to leave for the airline, and I had to complete my training. So I had to negotiate with the school to give me a training instructor. And fortunately, we didn't have an instructor that would train me on that aircraft at the flight school at that moment. So they had to outsource. And the instructor that they outsourced to do my training he was not a passionate instructor. It's not somebody who likes instructing. So you can imagine each and every flight I did with him, I was not happy. For one, because he doesn't expect me to do mistakes. So he expects you to be 100% and perfect with the flying. And I had to go back to the school owner, the boss, and, try and negotiate for a better instructor because I saw that my training is going nowhere. At the same time, I'm wasting money, which I don't even have, and wasting my time. And yeah, the negotiation went good. And I got a better instructor who was able to finish my training. And yeah, I got qualified as a commercial pilot license. So I think, yeah, that's just to wrap it up on my side.
Wow, very inspirational, Tumi.
Thank you.
And ladies, take it away. Tumi is all yours. You can ask her all the questions that you want to ask her. Come on, girls.
For me, it's not a question. I was to have the mentee. It's just a comment. I was emotional as you were talking because your strategy is exactly what I did with my parents to join the aviation industry. For me, when I was in grade 12, I knew exactly what I wanted to see. My mission was to see the world. But unfortunately, I was not a technical person. I was more on the glamorous side where I just wanted to see myself pulling that suitcase to be able to see the world. But I was fortunate because I happened to be at the right place, the right time. So joining the aviation industry, I started as an air traffic controller. But my dream was like, I just want to serve tea and coffee on board. That's exactly what I want to do. And fortunately, the opportunity came. I was in Mafikeng, then we had Bob Air. Then after Bob Air, it was SAA. So I was one of those pioneer girls for SAA. So it is unfortunate you and Asnath, I could not fly with you because at that time, the industry was just dominated by male people. So I flew with people like Mpo and the others. Well done, congratulations. It's not an easy industry. Very inspiring.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Come on, girls. Questions for Tumi. She's here for you guys.
I have a question.
So,
I have a question.
Go ahead, girl.
Oh, okay. I wanted to ask that what kept Tumi going throughout the trials and tribulations that she had along the way? Because it wasn't an easy ride getting to where she got to. So like, what kept her going? What kept her motivated to keep on trying and not giving up? Because like a lot of things did go wrong in the time when she was trying, especially finance-wise. So what kept you going and motivated that, you know what, I'm gonna get there eventually?
For me, it was definitely my passion. Because like I said, I fell in love with this industry, and my vision was to become a pilot. And I didn't stop at that. With everything that came along, obviously you're gonna get negatives. I was told by my own principal in high school that I would never become a pilot, and that's the fuel that you need. Sometimes you need to get fueled by negativity so that you realize your dream and your vision. So at that moment, that keeps me going till today is my passion, because you're never gonna stop having negative people in your life or negative things that come towards you. So if you love what you do and you're passionate about it, that passion keeps you going.
Anyone? Come, girls. I know most of you want to become pilots, so this is a chance to ask me all the questions that you want to ask.
Okay, I'm not one of the mentees, but I'm just going to comment while we wait for one of the girls. Tumi, thanks for that story. I found it quite emotional because at every block or challenge, you found a way around. And the one thing you mentioned was that your mom is an entrepreneur. So I think you might also have looked at her and said that how does she get around and how does she position herself to achieve her goals? So thanks for the inspiring story. Thanks for sharing to us that it doesn't matter where you come from, the sky is the limit. And yeah, blessings. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can I ask a question to me? Through your journey, did you ever feel like you were an entrepreneur?
I mean, certainly, because like I said, I told my mom to only finance my first license. So while I was doing that first license, I had to think of a way of how will I get money to finish this training until I'm qualified as a commercial pilot and working at the airlines or wherever I want to work, and making a living for myself, because I can't live on that first license. So at that moment, while I was doing my training, I had to think out the box. Because at that moment when I started at the flight school where I was at, I was the only female, I was the only Black person there when they actually started. So I was surrounded by guys, and guys are competitive. So you'd get days where your friends that you started with now start getting their licenses, and you're like sitting at home and you're stuck because of funding. And it gets to you, I won't lie, it got to me. But there's one thing that I believe in: God's timing is the best, and you can't change that. If God wants a certain thing for you at a certain time, it will happen at each time. So you just need to trust the process.
Amen to that.
Can I ask another question to me? So,
Yes.
negotiations, right? What do you think convinced the people to believe or meet your targets or demands?
I think most, if even today, it's my passion. You can see that I want to become a pilot. You can see I speak aviation, I live aviation, I sleep aviation. So for somebody to believe in my vision and my dream, they can see that it's attainable, because I love this so much, and nothing can get in the way, unless if God wants me to go do something else. But yeah, apart from that, I think because I am what I say I am. So it's like sending a CV to a company. I always tell kids that actually apply for bursaries or whatever, or a job. If you send me a CV saying that you love aviation, or a motivational letter, you send me a motivational letter saying you love aviation and it's your first love, and you want this bursary because you're the most passionate aviator, these companies actually look at your social media. That's one thing that a lot of the youth don't notice. So if I go to social media and all I see is party life and alcohol and whatnot, I'm not going to believe what you wrote in that letter. So for me, it reflected. If they had to go to my social media, they could see that reflection that, I really love aviation. So I go to the point that whatever you post online for the world to see is a reflection of you. So if you are saying you're a passionate aviator, if I go to social media or whatever, I must be able to see the passion that you're talking about, because passion is something that you wake up to every morning. So like my room, for instance, for me to wake up every morning, I see my goals, I see my vision. This is my vision board.
Can I just add something?
Yes, please.
You know, what saddens me is that Tumi qualified probably 15 years after me, if not more. And yet she's gone through a very, very similar situation that I went through, But what I wanted to say is that just coming to the social media, it's not even a joke what Tumi is saying now, that social media will impact your life. I'll give you an example. When you apply to airlines like Emirates, they have your social media status already. They will let you sit in an interview and they'll pull something that you did 5 years ago and say, confirm this was you. So you need to be very careful what you put out there. You need to be very careful. I've seen people on Twitter becoming nasty and becoming, doing all sorts of things. Those things are kept for life. You cannot erase them. They are there, they are out there for life. So what you do on social media, believe you me, it can impact your life 10 years from now. You'll have a very good job lined up. You have everything except what's happening in your real life outside. So girls, it's not a joke. I understand some of you are teenagers, you want to vent out. Believe you me, it will catch up with you when you're 28 years old, you're looking for a job and they give someone else the position. So be careful what you do online. And secondly, I've had people contact me telling me they want to be pilots. And what Tumi is saying, if you want to be a pilot, you must leave that. You must live, breathe, and eat aviation. That's what must happen. You cannot come to me in this day and age where there's information is just everywhere. When you open your eyes, information is in front of you. That cell phone you're using, you're not. Some of you spend the whole day. I'm not saying it's in this group. I hope it's not in this group. But spend the whole day checking other things except for stuff that will actually impact their lives positively. So people come to me and say, I want to be a pilot. And I say, okay, what makes you want to be a pilot? And you start, touching there, going there, and I ask you what airplane you like, which aircraft actually is your favorite. You can't tell me, and you want to be a pilot. And I'm at a point where, to be honest, I lose interest very quickly when that happens. I stop communicating because you have all the information at the tips of your hands. Make sure that that data that you get, you're using it for the right things for your future. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you. Thank you, Tumi.
Thank you.
Hello, Tumi.
May I add?
Okay.
I think someone spoke before me. They should go, and then I'll go after.
Oh, okay. Hello, Tumi.
Hello.
Yeah, I have 2 questions for you, Asnath. My first question is, what do you like and most enjoy about your job?
Okay. Are you gonna ask the second one also now?
Okay, answer me first, and I'll ask the
Okay.
second.
Okay, with aviation, one thing I like, especially what Sis Asnath is doing, you travel, besides the traveling to different places, it's not like an office job. So I don't come back to the same office every day, work 8 hours on the computer. It's very different in aviation where you fly to different destinations. You get different problems in the aircraft, so you won't have the same problem every time. You know, it's always different. It's a new theme type of thing. So you don't know what to expect, but you know where you're going, you know your destination, and you know what to do, and it's different every time. So for me, it's that I don't get to do the same thing every day for the rest of my life.
Oh, okay. And my second question is, what advice do you have for aspiring pilots out there?
Okay. First advice for me, get the information you need, and get yourself a mentor. You're gonna need a mentor in this career, because there are a lot of things that you don't know. And I feel like if there's someone ahead of you, there's always somebody you can ask, even if it's advice. Because flight school is not all roses. A whole lot happens there, and some things you're gonna need to speak to somebody outside that flight school to get advice on how to manage it. So for me, aspiring aviators, do your research, know your work. Yeah, and get a mentor. I can't stress that enough. You need to get yourself a mentor in whatever field you want to go into. Make sure that you have somebody that you can always speak to or ask questions. It's very important for yourself. It can also help you with a lot, and you know, cutting off a lot of things for you. So yeah, get yourself a mentor in whatever field that you want to go into, and do your research.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Ayanda, you can take it away.
Thank you. So, evening, ladies, to those who I haven't spoken to today. I just wanted to say, firstly, to both Gloria and both Tumi, congratulations to both of you. Firstly, to also Gloria, please don't undermine your achievement. I always say, anyone who gets a job in apartheid should be commended, because you had the entire world against you and you achieved what was in your heart. So to us, Gloria, I take my hat off to you. I say congratulations.
Thank you.
And then to Tumi, congratulations to you too. I think my favorite part of your story is the fact that you mentioned your mom, who was already in a male-dominated industry, and how she was thriving in that. She even had a society, and you took that and went into another male-dominated industry and you thrived. So congratulations to you for achieving that. And what I want to say to the ladies is that you have Os Gloria and you have Tumi, who overcame opposition, which is a testimony to what you can do with your life. They had constant challenges thrown at them and they overcame it. And even when it was rough, they still stood up and walked. So this is your network, which you've already established. When you joined in session 1, you started a network. Will forever be your mentors, you'll forever have this network. So my advice to you is, going forward, keep expanding your network. It's a small world, and you have people like us who always want to help to achieve your goals. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for the inspiring story and for motivating our girls and for encouraging them to show them that the sky is the limit. But the sky is not the limit, because you guys reach it now, right? So thank you so much for sharing a story with us. And I know and I hope it's going to resonate with the girls and they can draw from that. And as Asnath has said, you know, it's just that it's disappointing that we women have to go through all this, especially in the aviation industry. But what I can say to the girls is that there's hope, and there's people that are paving the way, young girls like you, people like Asnath that are paving the way. So there's hope for them. And at least when they get there, you guys would have cleaned up the stage for them to, you know, to start doing their actions. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. And the girls can take away something from you, because you're really living evidence that it's possible. Thank you so much. And now, guys, we're gonna go to the different circles. Val is gonna do the thing that she does best, taking us to the different circles so that we can discuss further. Thank you, Tumi.
Thank you. Enjoy your evening, guys.